I can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my name. Come to the table, cup runneth over. Come drink your fill and be well.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on BattleBorn Believers. Today we have my friend and dear sister in Christ, Shelly. We're going to talk to you about some dreams and visions we've had. Shelly's going to start with hers, and then I'm going to follow up with a few of mine. I hope this blesses you. Welcome, Shelly.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm
Thank
good, and thank you. Shelly, would you like to start with your dream?
Sure, Chris. Thank you. I woke up one morning in a panic after I had had a dream that was so vivid that it seemed like it was really real. I really do believe that it was a dream given to me by God. And in the dream, I was hovering or flying over the earth, and I could sense that my upper body was pointed more up. And I flew upward and then over the earth. And as I flew, I could see that the whole earth was just um, streams of lava, just winding streams of lava, the whole earth. And between the streams of lava was black, but I really couldn't make out what the black was yet. And I began to descend down towards the earth. And as I came closer, I could see that it was the lava, was hot and flaming, and that in between the black that was like a river flowing around, going along with it, was actually lava rock. And I realized that the whole earth was that way. And that's when I began to move back up higher over the earth. And as I did that, that's when I awoke from the dream. And I mean, I woke up in just a panic because it was really so vivid, like I said, and I couldn't decide. I don't know enough about dreams and visions to tell whether it was actually a dream or if it could have been a vision, but I do lean more towards a dream. And then when I talked to you that time about it, you mentioned that you had had a similar vision that correlated with that because I had been praying for an answer and asking God, what was that? Are you showing me something? And you told me He's showing you something. Here's this. It's the sign of the times and the end of the age. In Matthew, see, it's 24:3 is where that starts.
Okay.
Do you want me to read that?
Yeah.
It says, And Jesus answered and said to them, Take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in various places. All these things are the beginning of sorrows. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and kill you, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will be offended, will betray one another, and will hate one another. Then many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. And because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations, and the end will come. great tribulation. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him who is on the housetop not go down to take anything out of the house. And let him who is in the field not go back to get his clothes. But woe to those who are pregnant and to those who are nursing babies in those days. And pray that your flight may not be in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time, no, nor ever shall be. And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. Then if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there, do not believe it. For false Christs, false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you beforehand.
So this one I'm going to share. I'm not going to get into grave detail. All of these dreams are way more detail on Battleborn. So come check it out there. But there's actually a second one I'd like to share too, just a brief synopsis of it. But the first one, the one we discussed, it is actually a vision. I am driving from Denver. Actually, I'm going to New York, but I'm going the long way around. I'm driving through Kansas to go to Kansas City to make a stop there, and then I was going to head north and then go east. I had a few stops to make on the way. And so I'm heading on the highway, but the one go straight to Kansas City from Colorado. And I'm exhausted. It's been hours. I got a late start that night, and the moon's out, and it's starting to get real dark, but the moon's like shining the light on everything. Not music. I'm listening to spiritual warfare tapes, and I am amazed at some of the stuff I'm learning. I listened to it over and over and over again. I think it was Derek Prince, but I can't really remember because they had a lot of them. And I was kind of in boot camp with the Lord on spiritual warfare at that period of time in my life. It was just the beginning of a very long journey of spiritual warfare. But so I'm listening to this, and all of a sudden, the sky gets much darker, or at least I just noticed it. It's like I was going into something darker and darker and darker. I could barely see the road, and there's like literally nobody passing me anymore. That's very, very unusual. There's usually a lot of trucks on the road. It doesn't seem to matter what time it is. It's pretty late at night, but still, there's plenty of truckers. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this, what I call a dogman, werewolf, whatever you want to call it. I call this particular one a hellhound because of the experience that follows this. So this hellhound jumps in front of my car, and it felt like everything all of a sudden started going in slow motion. But even everything's going fast. I don't know if this makes sense, but it's going fast and in slow motion at the same time. So I'm like watching it as it's going by, and I'm catching a glimpse of what it looks like. I'm like, that's a werewolf, like, what the hell is that? So I'm watching it cross over. I'm getting all these details, and like literally, like if what you see on the underworld, that's pretty darn close to it. And it was huge, at least 8 feet tall, but it was hard to tell because it was like running. And then and then somehow whatever I was in just kind of snapped, and it was jumped across into the cornfield. So I am a complete horror. I did stop on the gas, and I just want to get out of there. I don't want to stop for anything. I knew I had to stop for gas, but I'm like, I'm waiting. I need to put as much distance between me and that thing back there. And I was just terrified. And who are you going to tell? I saw a werewolf. Okay. But anyway, so I keep going, and God's done some weird stuff with me in my life. And this is, I'd have to say, it's the weirdest. And he's done some weird stuff. Supernatural is weird.
Yeah.
Weird to most people. So anyways, I keep going and the darkness is just unbearable. I'm starting to see shadow people. I'm seeing all kinds of high strangeness. Uh, um, so as I'm going, all of a sudden, and I pass an exit, I'm like, oh shoot, maybe I should have at least stopped at that one because now my gas tank thing, my gas light is on. I'm like, I can make it one more. Literally, so literally nobody on the road. I could have backed up and taken that, but I was so afraid after what I had just saw. The spirit of fear just took over. So the next thing I'm like, run out of gas, and I'm on the side of the road with my little boy in the back. This is when he was like 2 or 3. I think he was like almost 3 years old. And now there's shadow people all around my car, just all the way. And I'm not even that scared of those because I know what those are and I know how to rebuke those creatures. But I'm like, I just saw a werewolf and I am freaking out, waiting for that thing to show up. Meanwhile, I'm like, Jesus, get me out of here. Just get me out of here. Get me out of here. So I'm calling and rebuking these creatures that aren't moving. It's like they keep coming back and one more comes and one more comes and I can see them surrounding me. Just so you know, I see into the spirit. So this is not uncommon for me to see that, but I had never seen anything that looked like a hellhound before, and it creeped me out. So I know this sounds like there's a long period of time, but almost instantly after I'm like, Jesus, please help, please help. I pick up the cell phone and I call 911. Now I'm like, I can't say I saw a werewolf. So I just tell them I broken down. I'm really scared. And the woman did not sound natural. She didn't even handle this like a 911 caller would. Her voice was very calm. It was like, no problem. He's on his way. I'm like, but you didn't ask my name or where I'm at. She's like, okay, where are you? Okay. So I'm like, I tell her what highway I'm on and what direction I'm heading. And she's like, he's on his way. And so I'm waiting very impatiently because I'm seeing all this stuff going on and I'm just waiting for this creature to just ram into the car and rip us out of there. And I'm like, what have I done? I've taken my son into the middle of nowhere to be killed, and my son's in the back and I'm just freaking out. And then, so I don't even think 5 minutes passed before I'm calling 911 again, asking where this cop is, right? And so I call back and I'm like, and I tell him who I am, and I'm like, where is he? This place is really scary. How much longer? And she's like, he'll be there in just a minute. He's pulling up. I'm like, no, he's not. What do you mean?
Pulling up.
What do you mean he's pulling up?
Yeah.
And she says, just give it a minute. He's almost there. So no sooner did I hang up and I'm looking around freaking out, there he pulls up behind me. And I am in such a panic, I don't even notice that as he was walking up to my car, he's illuminated. I just blew it off as it being his lights. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, I just want to get gas and get the heck out of here, right? So I rolled down the window. He says, looks like you need some help. You want to go get some gas? And so he takes me and he takes my son and we get in the car. He puts him in the seatbelt. He's like, just get in the front, calm down. It's going to be okay. And so then as he gets in the car, I'd say I've encountered angels before in different ways, but as soon as he gets in the car starts to illuminate. And I immediately felt very uncomfortable because I recognize the fact that this guy is an angel. I'm like that. And then I'm looking down. And then, just making small talk as he's taking me to go get gas. I don't know how it was brought about. It was something he said, and I was telling him about the tapes that I was listening to about spiritual warfare. And I said, have you ever heard about, I think it's 20 minutes in heaven? And he says, have you ever heard about 20 minutes in hell or something like that? Or, or what was it? I forget the book. And he looked straight at me and just stared at me until I looked at him and then comprehended what he was telling me in the moment. And just, it was odd because we're driving. He's like this. I actually forgot to mention that in my video. He's just like this. Just like, I'm like, no, I haven't. And so that is what happened. I ended up 20 minutes in hell, which is pretty much about the time it took. Yeah. So anyway, so I am about 2 exits. He so he brings me back, puts gas in the car, and tells me, one, not to go south. And he didn't mean right now. He meant in the future. Okay. He tells me, don't go south. Make sure you never go south, that you never go south. I'm like, okay. And then he tells me, and don't forget to stop for gas, and does this little smirk, like, because he knows I'm going to miss the next exit and forget to stop for gas, clearly. So anyways, I am panicking again. You'd think I'd be more reassured, but so I'm panicking again, going down the road, and I forget, because I just want to put distance between me and the incident. It hadn't clicked yet that he meant that this was going to continue. It just hadn't clicked, but it clicked. It ended up clicking. I'm a little slow on the draw sometimes, a little bit. So we're going down the highway, and there I pass the exit. I'm like, oh my God, I barely have a tank of gas. I have like a tank of gas. I didn't even stop. So I'm like, no matter what, you need to stop at the next exit, get gas. And if there's any place that, and at the time I didn't think about stopping anywhere yet, not until I got there. But anyway, so we get off at the next exit. When you get off, there's literally no one there. So it's like the world was deserted. There's nobody on the roads. There's no one in town except for one light at a gas station, which is very, very unusual that there's nobody there. One light at the gas station. All the other gas stations seem to be deserted. And then there was a hotel with a light on, but all the lights everywhere else were off. Like there was nobody. And so this motel was open and had, one guy at the front. So I stop at the gas station, I get gas, and then I'm like, I've had enough. I'm going to go check into this place. I don't feel safe on the road anymore. So then I check in, and it was a very strange experience. It's hard to explain, but I didn't feel like I was here anymore. It was like an altered here. It was like a world that is to come for America, where literally the pits of hell were opening up, where the high strangeness that people like me are encountered, where everybody encountered it, where there was very little people left anymore. This is the dimension or reality I was now experiencing in real time, in this vision within reality, which is the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. So I go and I park the car after getting the key from the guy. Okay, so then I back up into the spot right in front of the room that I was going to be in for the night. And I'm like, I hadn't woke up David yet. I was just gonna bring a few things and then settle in. I brought in a little bit of food, a couple other things, my Bible for one. I don't leave home without that. And then I was just gathering my thoughts of what I was going to bring, and it was all on the seat, what I was going to get. Then I get out with it and the key. And when I get out of the car, though, the ground is moving. It's going like this, like water. And I'm looking and I'm like, this is weird. And then I realized it's making cracks, and there's like lava under there. And then it's still doing this, but it's settled down a little bit. I'm like, okay, let me just grab David. I realized that I'm still in the vision. I'm still in this place that God's showing me. I'm like, I'm just going to grab David and run in. And then I hear this racetrack sound, but it wasn't a racetrack. I'm like, what is that noise? And it was from a distance. Like, what the heck is that noise? I was like, oh, that's not a racetrack. Those are people screaming, like screaming all at the same time at the like as loud as it, and such horror, like billions of people screaming. It freaked me out. I was like, wow. And I knew instantly what that was. So I grabbed David, I grabbed the little, the little bit of stuff I had, I closed the door, I run in that place. Okay, so I lay David down and I get him to go to sleep, and I'm sitting there, I'm up all night, I'm freaked out, but well, not all night. I wasn't freaked out all night. I was freaked out for the first 15, 20 minutes. So I'm sitting there, I'm opening my Bible. I'm like, oh God, what is happening? I don't understand what you're doing. I don't understand what's happening. What are you doing? And so he's bringing me to different scriptures. And the room started to illuminate. And over in the corner, I knew the angel that I had encountered earlier was now in the room ministering to my spirit all night. I cannot remember, but this is another phase of the biggest spiritual growth that I've ever had. This was during a period of time. It's like when I say I was in boot camp, I was in boot camp, and God was not leaving it alone. I was just, I mean, God can overwhelm you, I'm telling you. But I all of a sudden felt this peace and shalom, shalom, which means perfect peace come over me, over the room. The room was just, it was like a bubble of protection. And then, I was just absorbed in the word. And so much, he did so much for me that night. I can't even put it into words. So I'm in the mountains, I'm in this place, and I know that it's a temporary place. The world was in chaos. There was a lot of unrest, there was war. We had a great deal of peace, though, and God was guiding our steps. We didn't feel scared. When God told us to move, we moved. When God told us to stay, we stayed. But in this particular dream, God showed me something. I'm in this house. It's in the mountains. It's just one strip of houses, like townhomes and houses. And then when you look out the back porch, there's nothing but mountains, that valley, and then two mountains that come together. And there's like this parting through the mountains, and there's tons of mountains behind it. And as I'm looking, I see some smoke at the top of the mountain. And I'm like, what is that smoke? What's going on there? And I start freaking out a little bit. And then I realize, wow, there's a fire up there, but I didn't really see flames yet. I saw a lot of smoke. And then all of a sudden I started seeing some flames. And then coming right down see, this was a dream with a vision in the middle of it. Uh, this is how I see it. Maybe it's just, a dream with symbolism, but there was so much to this dream. So as I'm looking at this lava coming straight through the middle of where the two mountains meet, coming through the valley there, and it's like really, compact through the mountains, and it's coming through, and it's coming straight towards the house, and it's coming straight towards that development that is down there, and in the valley a bit. We were kind of up on a hill, but it was coming straight at us, and the amount of lava that was coming, if we didn't leave, it was going to come right underneath the houses. It was going to come towards us, and I knew that immediately. But and so I rush in. I tell everybody, hey, hurry up, get in the car. We need to evacuate now. Lava's coming. So I'm freaking out. I'm grabbing some things. And I'm like, okay, let me go see how much time I have. I go look outside again. And this is where I see, because I didn't tell you this part. I mean, I went out 3 different times, and each time was worse. And so the second time when I went out there, I saw, as the lava's coming through, I see on both sides people shooting each other. And God was showing me in the spirit, like, like missiles, and there was like two, like, like the world was divided, and natural disaster is happening all around, while the world is killing each other. They're coming after each other and murdering, and war and famine, and just mayhem. And nobody's noticing the natural disasters around them, which is what God highlighted to me. Nobody's now noticing the signs that God is giving us all around, all they can focus on is hating each other and killing each other while all these crazy things are going on around. So I rushed back into the house, and I'm trying to rush and get stuff together, and this is, I didn't even go outside fully the second time. I just kind of went to the door. I start really panicking because it's moving faster and everything's amping up. It's getting worse and worse, with the fighting, the killing, the natural disasters are coming straight at us. And the whole time I have like this husband, it represents a husband, but I believe he was an angel. It's like somebody taking care of you, like, and the whole time he's like, hurry up. God said leave, like, you need to leave. And he didn't say God. He said, you need to leave now. You need to leave now. You need to leave now. And I'm like, well, I need to get this and I need to get that. And because I had two children that were not mine. This is part of another dreams that God had showed me, a series of dreams where God had showed me how I ended up with these children. I had had these dreams prior, and the parents had passed away, and I had these two children plus my son, and then someone else that I was with. It was a male, but this representation of this person was constantly saying, you need to go now, you need to go now. It was like the Holy Spirit or an angel telling me, when God tells you to get up and go, you go, you don't hesitate, like that scripture in the Bible. And we will read that in a minute. But so as I am going to the stairs, I am saying, no, I have to just get one more thing, where there's a couple of things that kids are really going to need. And I'm just panicking. And I go to take a step up the stairs, and underneath it started falling apart. And there was lava under the ground, and then a big hole where the lava had loosened the dirt, and it's fall. And I'm about ready to fall. And all of a sudden, the angel gets up right behind the staircase and lifts it up for me so I can get back off. And he tells me, go to the door. So I grab the bags at the door and walk out the door, and he's walking with me. And as I walk out the door, there's this representation of evil, an evil man to the right. And he looks at that evil person and says, you give back to her what you stole. I'm like, and he goes, I never stole anything from her. I have not stolen anything from her. He goes, okay. And I'm looking at him and I'm looking at him. And then all of a sudden, like this desk from heaven, okay? It's really weird. And there's a man there that is an angel, and he's kind of like a little illuminated. I know that he's an angel. We walk up to it and no words are spoken. The angel looks at the guy looks at him, the guy looks at him, and then he says, okay, I'll give back what I stole. And so I have no idea what he stole, but I have some ideas. I think that's more on a personal level. But so then we get in the car and we go to leave. And the person that was driving was the man that I was with. Then we had the three kids in the back in this SUV, and out we went. And we went to safety. But this is part of a series of dreams. But this reminded me so much of what she was just talking about. And under the stairs, when I was looking down, it was pure darkness. There was nothing but darkness. And when I was looking out at the back, out over the balcony of the scene, it was pure darkness. It was like a darkness over the land, just like my other dreams that we will go into in another video here in the future. But the darkness was supernatural. Okay, this next dream I'm going to share was actually the first of the series. The one I just went over, I did that one first because it really touched home on Shelly's dream that she had had. But this was the beginning, and it's kind of going to explain how the one I share after that goes together. So I had a dream before the 2020 event that literally locked every human being within their homes. That's how I'm going to say that. Anyhow, right after it started, that showed me something about 6 months before they put out the cure for everyone to jabby jab. And it was 6 months before the first jabby jab came to the world. And he showed me on a cellular level something that was inside the body. And this creature was black, representing darkness. And it had like 4 arms and then a stinger coming out of it. It's like arms and legs and a stinger that came out of its belly, and it injected into a cell. This is what God was showing me. Injected into a cell, released something small, and then it pulled it back out. It leaned back, and his eyes went halfway. And in my mind, God showed me it's not asleep, it's not awake, it is dormant. And then I woke up from the dream. So then 6 months later, I knew better than to do anything health-wise that is not Yahweh approved. And so that's the best way I can say that without getting this banned from places that don't like truth. So then the next dream he showed me right after this was the first one after, the land had been completely devastated by war, natural disasters. There were no lights, there was no power. People were pretty much fending for themselves. There was a lot of people who, for a lack of a better term, because I don't have one, were like zombies. They were actually run demonically. They were working and moving in a hive-like manner. Okay, I'm just going to tell you this before I tell you the dream. Like they were somehow connected in some way, and when they weren't going after someone, or they didn't send somebody, it's like they moved very slowly, and they moved in packs, they moved together. It was very strange. I didn't get a close look at them at the time, but in another dream I had. And it's not like they're zombies like, oh, I'm stupid and I'm just working on a primal level, although they were vicious and murderous. And I won't name the other type of things that they do, but let's just say they violate. They do very demonic, evil things. But anyway, so the 2 children that I mentioned in the last dream, this is how this came about. I'm leaving Portland, Oregon with these people. They're 2 young couples. Both of them have children. And this is how I ended up with the 2 children. We're at a motorhome, and I'm there with my son. I have not met up with the man that I'm supposed to meet up with until much later. Not much later, but a little while later. So I'm in this motorhome, and we have now stopped at a gas station. And when I say it's dark, I mean it's dark. You cannot see the sky. It is black. There are no lights. It's pitch dark. There is a darkness over the land. It's spiritual, but it's also in the flesh. It is dark. There is no sun, nothing. There's just this blackness up. There's very dark. And so we're at this gas station, and I get out to keep an eye out while the guys are out there, and they're I don't know how they're doing it, but they're getting into the gas in a way where, out of the ground, because the pumps don't work. So they're pulling it directly out of the ground, where the tanks are, to put into our motorhome. And we're all being very quiet. There's the other guys on the other side now watching while the guy's pumping it. He got it going. And you can see the women looking out the window, freaking out. And they got the kids trying to keep them quiet. And so I'm over right by the right at the end before the grass, those little islands, and there's a drain. And the drain, because the earth had cracked there, either from bombing or the natural disasters that I think were actually triggered by something, maybe different things, but it's just my theory. But anyway, so I'm looking down in that drain. There's kind of a little hole in there, and there's a little girl in there. There's this little girl, and she's just peeking up at me and trying to hide, right? And I'm like, come out, come out. And she won't. She's terrified. And there's enough room for me to squeeze in there and jump down there with her. And so I'm trying to talk her into getting out, but she's terrified. She tells me that her mommy and daddy are gone, sneaking back up and then sneaking back down in this hole. She would go into the gas station, take food, and then go hide back down in the hole. Okay. Right as I'm getting out to go get one of the other guys to help me pull her out, because I don't want to, intimidate her. And I need help. I look down the street, and there is literally a horde, like so many of those beings. And I start panicking. And the other guy comes around and he says, look, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. And he says it in a low tone, not as loud as I'm saying. And then I said, but this little girl, we got to get her out of here. It's like, we've got to go. I'm like, then get her out of there. And he goes to get her out of there. And then we're heading till it's the motorhome. And that's the end of the dream. But these beings were not human anymore. So it leads me to another dream I had. And this one was just before we ended up in that mountain home area. We are in the mountains. This is the next memory. I'm in the mountains. I'm with a lot of people. My son's there. These couples are there. This is where I ended up meeting up with the one man that I told you I ended up traveling with. And the children, by the way, we ended up with called us Mama and Papa. They were so young, they didn't even understand the concept that their parents were, dead. And it's just like we just took over after that. We became their parents. And so we're in the mountains, and I'm bringing people in, and a lot of people, like 20, 30 people at a time. You go through the mountains, it's like this little valley area, but the sides, it's like just mountainous. I mean, you can't see anything. And we are hidden, but in a really unique way. As you turn, you see like this open field, but then when you turn and you go up the hill a bit, there's a triage to the left. And then back further, there's, places to, where we get together, we cook, campfire and stuff like that. And there was motorhomes hidden up there, and it was all covered by trees. You couldn't see any of us from the sky, which is why we were there. But there was enough room in there. The trees were tall enough. We were just completely cloaked in this area. So as we would bring people down this area, we would keep them on the tree line. So if we saw anything in the sky, like planes or anything like that, you could just duck into the tree line and be hidden. So, but anyway, so as we're walking into this place, you can see all the tents, the motorhomes, and we have them all in the tree lines and stuff. So you can't see anything. And we were living there. And this brings me to the next dream. I'm coming from this place by foot alone with the guidance of the Lord. I'm going to this place that I know it's going to take me like 3 or 4 days to walk. So I end up walking. And because there was a flood in Portland, Oregon, which I actually saw in another dream where God had warned me, there was this flood, but it wasn't just any flood. I mean, it came from the ocean, which is like an hour and a half away. I mean, it just doesn't come. It flooded all of the Columbia, flooded Willamette River. Everything was changed. The landmass changed. This is how bad it was. Whatever triggered this made waves so high and so strong, they tore Portland, Oregon apart. Where there was once land, there is water. Now where there was once water, there is now land. This is how bad it was. There was a lot of water. But anyway, so I'm walking and going to this little island that's now an island that didn't used to be an island, over by Columbia River. And I'm going to get medicines to one of the only places that I knew you could get medicines. I was not scared. I had peace. I knew God was guiding my steps. And get this, I was not concerned about my son. And let me tell you something, my son's mentally disabled. For me to not be concerned about my son meant I was really trusting the Lord. And even better than that, I was really trusting the people that had him. I've never trusted people with my son before. God had brought all of us Christians together. We didn't even know each other. All of a sudden, we're migrated together, guided by God's steps. This is how God works. And so now I'm at this place, I'm about to cross over. Again, I meet with a Christian. He's the guy who takes people across by boat. He tells me, you do not want to go there. I'm telling you, go back. It is dangerous. He knew I was a Christian. I knew he was a Christian just by looking at each other. We somehow knew. We didn't even have to say it. And I said, no, I understand, but God sent me here. He's guiding my steps. And you know, we had this little conversation. It's basically what I said. I'm, you know, ad-libbing a little. So he takes me across, and before we get there, he says to me, if anything starts going wrong or you start to feel like you're in danger, you come find me, because I'm going to be right over here and we will leave immediately. I will get you out of here. And I said, okay. So I go into this place. It's like a little market, but it's more like a Mad Max kind of deal, you know, anybody that's watched that. It's really, really unsettling. But I'm going around, I'm grabbing the few things that I need. And I'm trying to avoid these women that run this place because they are demonic. This one woman was in charge, and I don't know what kind of being was controlling her, but it was like a Gaia spirit. Okay. And then these other women were like hive mind, just, it's hard to explain. They were just all over her, and just like they were possessed. And they had sores all over their bodies, and their skin didn't look right. They were very pale, and it was very spongy and weird looking. It wasn't natural. And then God showed me in the spirit, they want blood. They want human blood. They want sacrifice. That's what's keeping them alive at this point. And so I'm walking by, and they're like, come here, come here. And I can't just, you know, say, yeah, say, I had to be nice. This was their place. So I go, and they're like, why don't you join us? Why don't you stay here? Because it was all about women. And God showed me in the spirit, they're sacrificing male boys and they're sacrificing men. They would lure men in. Any women that had children, they would somehow manipulate their minds on a spiritual level, that they would then be sacrificing children. And so in that moment, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd love to, but I have to go get my little boy. Now, mind you, my little boy is about 6'4" and grown. So, but they didn't know that. So I tell them, yeah, I have to get my little boy first. I will hurry up. I'll go get him. I'll come right back. I saw this evil woman's eyes just light up. She's like, okay. It's like she such utter joy, because I could tell in the spirit what she wanted and what she was going to. It was the only way to get out of there. I had that inner knowing that if I had not said that, I wasn't getting out of there. So I had everything I needed. I immediately went to that man. He took me onto the boat, and it drove me across. As soon as I got to the other side, that was the end of that dream.
We're talking about water, Chris, and the water coming up and the land mass changing. And that's happening. The water from deep in under the earth, the bodies of water are rising up and are going to come up and flood a lot of places, and it's going to come way inland. I mean, I'm sure there will be a lot of other causes for that too.
Absolutely. I also think another thing that might happen in the next world war, when it kicks off, at least for America, this is what I foresee happening. I've had a lot of dreams and visions over the last, like, really 10 years that have blown my mind. I've never had so many from God until the last 10 years. I've had some sporadically here and there, but it's like a series of things that he has shown me. And one of them, besides the natural disasters, is the way the land is so dark. I just, like, I really think a EMP will hit that will take out a lot of the electrical and
Yes.
this, all of that. And I don't know if people know this or not, but when things are running smooth, it takes at least a year to get things repaired because they get it from China. But if we're at war with, let's say, Russia and China, Iran, I mean, any of that, and all of our transportation is halted. We're in a World War III. We're not getting that stuff back. We're going to turn into a third world country within 30 days. And statistics says if the grid went down, meaning the power went down, transportation, food transportation, all those things went down, 90% of the population would be gone from killing each other, starvation, and dying of thirst within 30 days. 90% of the population. So anybody that says Christians shouldn't prepare are not talking to, they're not reading the Bible. God warns us about things so we can prepare the best we can. More than anything, what we need to prepare for is our spiritual walk with the Lord, basically. We need to have a close relationship with God and know the difference between the enemy's voice and God's voice. And the only way to do that is to create an intimate relationship with the Lord. If you wait till there's nothing but chaos, you're going to fall for the deceptions that come after all these disasters. When the beast system kicks into gear and they're asking you put a mark on your hand or your forehead. And the thing is, God guides our steps. God takes care of his elect. At no point in time did we feel scared. We were at peace. We were taken care of. We were brought together. We were never walked alone. And this is what God showed me, And
What's happening spiritually is reflected in the natural. And so this nation the people have gotten so far away from God that this nation is just turning further and further to um, just total straight debauchery. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's another thing that I wanted to bring to light. Russia has a torpedo called Poseidon. This bomb is a tsunami bomb. Not only does it cause a tsunami that could reach up to 1,000 feet waves, it's also radioactive. So anybody that's in the water or near the water is going to have radiation poison if they're not killed by the flood itself, because it's that devastating.
Yes. Don't they release missiles
Yes.
from under? Yeah. Without being detected. They've already been on our shores.
They're undetectable submarines parked right out there under the water in the ocean, like, just waiting. And they have these bombs. Those are the submarines that carry the Poseidon torpedoes. All they have to do is release it, and they won't be detected because these missiles go so slow. And then when they explode, then but you don't know until they're right on the shore and about to explode. I had a dream one time, and I believe it has to do with this. I was looking at the shore and I saw these long black things, and they were headed towards our shore. And then they were coming up on the shore. I think it was symbolizing the torpedoes, and I think it was symbolizing the demonic behind all of this, and the serpents, because they look like serpents. But I think it represented the tsunamis and death that are also coming. But that's all I saw of that. But in the spirit, I just knew that it represented these things. It was a strange dream. But that's what I had gotten from it.
Yes, he is amazing. He's done some amazing things in my life, and which that'll have to be for another day. But yeah, he's just awesome and amazing the way he works. There are things that you don't understand, and
Well, he shows you as you go, though. I mean,
well, that's true. But I mean, there are things that sometimes you don't get answers to dreams right away or visions all the time, and so sometimes takes time, even though he's good about that.
That's
He's good about giving understanding, and yeah, but at the time, it's
that's true. It's overwhelming at the time.
yeah,
You
at the
know,
time.
well, I remember one thing that happened to me a long time ago. I didn't understand it for 25, 27 years. It took
Yeah,
that long for him to show me piece by piece by piece. And I didn't share it until he was done with me on that, you know? Like so, but anyways, yeah, there's God's amazing. And yeah, that's why kind of what I meant, what Shelly was saying. It sometimes it takes a while for him to piece these things together. And as you're growing spiritually, he starts showing you one thing after another. I mean, the first time he ever showed me something, I was terrified, just terrified. But God is good, and he warns his people. Bottom line, for me sharing that, I just want to again emphasize that God guides your steps. He takes care of his remnant. We are his children. He is a perfect father. He never leaves us alone, no matter what is coming. Let's say, the rapture doesn't happen just like you think it will, and we have a lot of stuff we have to go through first. Just know that he takes care of his own. There's nothing to worry about. God God is good, and he keeps his promises. His word is good. He is faithful, more faithful than any of us know how to be.
oh
And
yes, we serve an incredible God, and He is faithful. That's who He is.
amen.
His word says, that God cannot lie, and He tells us, "I am not a man that I should lie." But yeah, He's definitely faithful. He keeps His word, and everything He says, is going to happen one way or the other. It's coming to pass,
Absolutely.
and He keeps His promises to us.
Hey, Shelly, what's that other dream that you were telling me about? You want to share that?
Sure, I'd like to do that, Chris. It was about a serpent, and it had to do with not only me but my grandkids, more specifically my grandkids. The school where they go, or where both of them did go, a lot of my family's gone there. I went there, my sister, I had cousins, nieces, and nephew, even my dad, my uncle, and then my grandkids. I know that familiar spirits follow bloodlines and families. And I don't really know if that had anything to do with it or not, but it certainly appears that it did. And in this dream, we're walking outside the fence. It's a chain link fence in the back side of the school, which is a pretty long, it's a short block, but it's kind of a good walk. And we're walking along there, and I could sense that evil was behind us, that something was coming up. And I begin to see this serpent coming around us. And you could just feel its evil presence. And I knew that it was after my grandkids and it was saying things. But I just knew that it was, after not only them, but the kids in general, and even me. So as we walk along this fence and we're coming to the end, this thing is following us. It became enormous, like an anaconda. I mean, the thing was huge, and it just, it won't go away, and it keeps following us. And when we get up there, I start rebuking it and telling it, "You can't have my grandkids. You can't have my family. Go in the name of Jesus. I command you to go." It became smaller, and it went through one of the holes in the chain link fence into the school yard. And at that point, I guess that's probably when I woke up. It vanished out of sight as it went through. I could see it, and then it's like it went through a place there that it vanished into, like a portal.
That's interesting.
When you have a serpent in your dream, God is telling you that there's something that you need to pray about, and someone that you need to confront, or something that you need to confront.
Demonically or spiritually, it like
Yeah.
when God allows, I believe God allows some of these spiritual attacks when we're asleep. And I think the reason why he does, especially with things like that, is that we're aware of it. So then we'll deal with it, because we are supposed to be operating in the spirit and operating in spiritual warfare. And so when these things come, we have to deal with them. When you first told me about that dream, what kept popping in my mind is this creature that I see, because I see in the spirit. And there was this principality, one of the ones that are over a city. When I was in New York City, I saw one just like that, was humongous. And it is over New York City. It is assigned to New York City. And I saw this creature, and it was like a huge black anaconda. It's just what it reminded me of when you told me this. So sometimes God's showing you that maybe there's a principality, or there's a demonic presence that's influencing your life, which was the feeling I got when you said it about your dream. Well, we've ran out of time, and we're going to end this video here, but we have lots more information that we'd like to go over next week. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, and keep watching. Remember, click the little bell so that you get the notifications when we have new releases, because we have some really good, some interesting things coming up soon. Thank you, and take care.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
I can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my name. I can hear you call my name. Come to the table.